Hey there, and thank you so much for joining us on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and here's what we're tracking for you on this Wednesday. From rain in the Pacific Northwest to above average temperatures on the coast and freezing mornings in the Mountain West. Weather's all over the place today. We'll have the forecast in each region so you know what to expect heading into the weekend that's coming up. Plus, Hurricane Melissa laid waste to Jamaica. The island is now declared a disaster area. We'll show you the damage and where the storm is headed next in the Caribbean. And entrepreneur Bill Gates is shifting his priorities when it comes to climate change. Why he's adjusting his stance and where he says resources need to be placed. And volunteers in Oregon have a unique solution to combat hunger for residents that involves teaming up with their state's Department of Fish and Wildlife. We'll explain more later on. Happy Wednesday to you and welcome to Weather Out West. If you haven't joined us before, this is our hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. Today, we're going to begin in Phoenix, where they're dealing with a mixed bag of weather from sub-freezing morning temperatures to gusty winds and daytime highs above normal and several weather alerts. I know that's a lot. Ginger Jeffries has much more.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west across Arizona, where we've got a couple of different weather patterns at play. We've got cold air and we've got windy conditions. As a result, we do have the attention of the National Weather Service this morning. A freeze warning in effect for all these areas you see here in purple, so high country through the rim, as yes, numbers are going to be dropping down into the mid-20s, low 30s. Just remember, the point of freezing is 32 degrees. So look at this. From the Grand Canyon, Flagstaff, Winslow, Show Low, we are looking for temperatures that are going to be definitely on the chilly side. Window Rock, the coolest place, at about 19 degrees this morning. The good news is we are going to be warming up nicely under the guise of abundant sunshine. As you can see, temperatures look like this. I've got 60s and 70s for the higher elevations, about 74 today in Payson, 65 at the Grand Canyon, and still holding down some upper 80s and 90s for western and central portions of the state. Yuma, 94 for you today. I've got 86 in Tucson and 91 in Phoenix. But notice, okay, yesterday we had some wind closer to Bullhead City into Kingman. Now it's kind of spreading out a little bit. We are going to see some strong winds in higher elevations. The strongest impact should be just a little east of the metro. We've got a wind advisory this morning through the noon hour, so it's fairly compressed, but the wind expectations are up to about 45 miles an hour, which does meet that advisory status. So as I put the Futurecast and data in motion, you can see, here we go, little bit of brighter banding through about, again, this advisory is going to expire this afternoon, but still we should get a little strong wind impact, and then it's basically going to subside overnight and the winds are going to calm down. That's really going to allow the conditions to level off nicely. So if you are still going to go up into the higher elevations, enjoy some of the cool but windy conditions. Michelle and Prescott sending me in just the most vibrant colors. Oh my goodness. I've been bringing you these shots daily. Look at this. Purples, pinks, greens, blues, golds, everything going on in the higher elevations, all courtesy of, yeah, that fall crispness that is in the air. So friends, we are peaking. If you're going to go check it out, understand the days are getting numbered, but man alive, it is worth it. All right, here in the Valley of the Sun, ample sunshine. It is going to be sunny. Remember, we've got a little bit of wind, especially just through the afternoon hours, and then that's going to taper off. Daytime highs kicking it up to about 91 degrees. Now, yesterday we were warmer, but still today in the 90s. That does mean we are above the normal range. The records for us sit at 96 degrees, so it doesn't look record worthy, but certainly on the warmer side, and all because of the clear skies overnight and the dry air. We are dropping off nicely. On Mesa, you're getting down to about 58 degrees. I've got 61 tonight. tonight in Glendale and right about 61 in Goodyear. So let's look ahead. You know, we are halfway through the work week, getting to the weekend, and notice what happens. Numbers will be climbing. In Flagstaff, remember, it's going to be on the chilly side overnight, but then daytime highs are climbing near 70 degrees for the weekend. Here in the valley, we are peaking at 91 degrees today, but then look at this temperature stretch over the next 6 days, basically from 86 to 90 degrees with nothing but clear skies.
We now turn back to tracking Hurricane Melissa as it begins to move off the coast of Cuba. It's still an extremely dangerous Cat 2 hurricane with winds of 100 miles per hour. The storm made landfall in Cuba early this morning, just hours after slamming into Jamaica. And you can see it's moving northeast at 14 miles per hour, and it's about 150 miles south of the central Bahamas. And new video is beginning to reveal just some of the destruction. Melissa struck Jamaica as one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes on record, with winds exceeding those of Hurricane Katrina and some of the most major hurricanes. More than 500,000 people were without power. Officials say floodwaters are still too high for the search and rescue teams to get out and assess the extent of the damage or the loss of life. After Cuba, Melissa will hit the Bahamas before accelerating out to sea. And Melissa is the strongest storm to hit Jamaica in modern times. For Seattle's small Jamaican community, the devastation hits close to home. Communication lines are down, families are struggling to connect, and fear is growing.
My sister texted me. She sent me a message via WhatsApp earlier today, and she says we're losing service, cell phone service, and that they're okay.
Just gut-wrenching there. A Seattle nonprofit is teaming up with a Jamaican restaurant to collect donations and supplies, although we're told details are still being worked out. Now we're going to pick up with the forecast, and we're going to head to Denver. They're in for a beautiful stretch of weather, and temperatures are going to warm today after very cold conditions, dip slightly for Halloween, and then climb again over the weekend. Denver's Kathy Sabin and Katie LaSalle have all of those details in their forecast.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin, and we're enjoying a beautiful late fall. I mean, temperatures have been warm. It has been terrific, although in the last 24 hours, we've seen a major shift. A little mountain snow, temperatures nosediving into the 20s, and a hard freeze. The sunrise and sunsets around the area have been beautiful in the last week, and now with clear skies and light winds, we're going to see a cold start to the day again today, with a freeze warning out and temperatures in the 20s when folks step out early this morning. The storm that brought the mountain snow on Monday and also brought a little bit of thunder and lightning and rain to the eastern plains is tracking east, where there will be impacts for travelers headed to Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, and New Orleans. We have high pressure settling back over Colorado, so that's going to bring us a string of mild, dry days as the next system offshore from the Pacific Northwest kind of takes shape and takes aim at Colorado. So we have a warmer and drier weather trend for the next couple of days after the cold start this morning. We have that freeze warning in effect through 10 a.m. for temperatures this morning 19 to 25 degrees. And that includes Fort Collins, Boulder, Broomfield, and downtown Denver. This should be the last super cold morning, and with the fair skies, light winds, good radiational cooling, it's going to take a little while for us to warm up. But notice there's not much, even in the way of cloud cover coming into the state. The winds, which had that northeast influence and then kind of went westerly, now we're going to be shifting out of the southwest as we move through the day, and they'll be picking up across the Front Range foothills, but it'll be a calmer day in Denver until we hit late Thursday. So we start in the 20s this morning, warm to the upper 50s this afternoon, a nicer day. This above average temperature trend, well, we're not really going to see that until we hit the weekend, but at least Halloween doesn't look scary at all. Cool and dry at 51 degrees. And then this is the weekend. Daylight saving time comes to an end, and we fall back. We set our clocks back 1 hour hour when we go to bed Saturday, and you want to spread out Sunday and take in as much of that day as you can, we have sunshine and 70s for, well, the first few days of November in Denver, Colorado. That is pretty unusual.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle. When you stepped outside this morning, was it a touch of a shock to the system? Well, it's because we have seen the coldest temperatures in quite some time. Lows this morning out at Denver International Airport officially fell to 21 degrees. That is the coldest temperature we've seen out at the airport since March 15th. That was 228 days ago. For this time of the year, we typically see lows drop down to around freezing, and with 21 today, it's not going to be nearly as cold over the next several evenings and early mornings. But I do want to let you know this evening, it is our last 6 p.m. sunset of 2025 in Denver. We will be falling back. Clock switch over on Sunday. Temperatures late tonight into early tomorrow morning under a mostly clear sky will not be as cold. Skies will stay clear and winds relatively calm. So we'll gradually see a warm up here over Colorado over the coming days. Overnight lows in the mountains as well set to fall to the teens and 20s. Low 30s Denver, Fort Collins and Greeley. So not nearly as chilly as we get through the next several days. But we do have a ridge of high pressure building in. What is interesting with our weather pattern across the West Coast, it's going to be relatively warm and dry, but we do have a secondary low. This is actually filling in the pressure gap from Hurricane Melissa across the Atlantic. It is such a powerful system that some of that cooler air will be filtering back into Colorado, bringing us a little more cloud coverage where we originally thought Halloween was going to be relatively mild because of that ridge moving in from the west. It is actually going to be a touch cooler. Our average high on October 31st in Denver, 57 degrees. Now we're looking at a high of 51. So a little bit cooler, more cloud coverage, but for all those trick-or-treaters out and about, a relatively nice evening for us. Chilly conditions, but we have seen absolutely worse with snowstorms and things here across Colorado. We are bracing for a dry weather pattern with slightly above average temperatures by the weekend.
And Bill Gates says he's adjusting his stance toward an environmental issue that he's been long associated with. The co-founder of Microsoft says resources needed to be shifted away from the fight against climate change and instead focused on hunger and preventing diseases. In an essay published yesterday, Gates says he isn't reversing his stance on climate change and that planet-friendly actions are still needed. However, he says the Trump administration's major cuts to the U.S. Agency for International Development could result in lasting famine and the spread of life-threatening illnesses. And speaking of climate change, the Golden State is feeling a warm-up this late into the fall season. Monica Woods and Vanessa Paz will have the latest from Sacramento and San Diego when we come right back. Welcome back to Weather Out West. And before we get to the forecast, we wanted to show you this. So Christmas Island in Australia is crawling with crabs. Every year, millions of red crabs come out of the forest after the first rainfall of the wet season. Then they make their way to the ocean to mate and spawn when the tide recedes during the last quarter of the moon. How fast they walk depends on how long they have between those two events. Once they reach the beach, the males will mate and go back to the forest, but the females will stay in burrows in the sand to produce eggs and then release them into the ocean. The red crab migration is the biggest tourist attraction for Christmas Island. Look at those little guys go. Usually, animals also migrate because of warm weather and warm sea surface temperatures, right? So San Diego might be a good place to go right now. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz is tracking the Santa Ana winds that are fueling a warm-up in Southern California.
Well, good Wednesday morning. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz from San Diego, California. We are looking at nothing but clear skies from start to finish today. We woke up really brisk in the 50s across our most populated neighborhoods, stretching from the coast to the inland valleys. But the major headline as we get the second half of the work week will be the heat. The heat will be on repeat. We didn't break any records yesterday, but it will be so warm this afternoon when the heat peaks that we could potentially break some records for our interior parts parts of the county. As we take a look at weather headlines, kicking off your final days of October in the second half of the week, we are still going to continue to be dry, windy, and warm here in San Diego. The heat peaks today with temperatures soaring close to 100 degrees across a lot of our inland neighborhoods. And then temperatures will come crashing down along the coast and valleys tomorrow. Not so much for the deserts and mountain areas. They really won't feel noticeable cooling until we get to the weekend. So here's what we have on tap for high temperatures across the board. We'll be in the mid to low 80s from Oceanside all the way down to Carlsbad. These neighborhoods are actually some of the warmest spots typically along the coastline. And then we'll be a little cooler down in Del Mar, hitting a high of 79 degrees, 85 meanwhile in our urban heat island, also known as downtown San Diego. Mid to low 90s for a lot of areas along the inland valleys. I mean, we'll be hitting highs close to 100 degrees for neighborhoods like Escondido, as well as Fallbrook and out in Ramona, and even El Cajon, 98 degrees. We do have several areas that could break some daily max records with how unusually warm it's going to get this afternoon. 91 later on today, meanwhile, for Alpine. As we take a look at our watches, warnings, and advisories, we are looking at a heat advisory all the way through Wednesday. You just need to be mindful of those outdoor activities. Make sure that you're drinking plenty of water, limiting time spent in the sun, and checking on those who are susceptible to heat-related illnesses. We saw peak winds yesterday climb close to 60 miles per hour or so, and we'll continue to have breezy conditions this afternoon, but they won't be nearly as strong as yesterday. Sill Hill, which is one of our mountain neighborhoods, along with Howell Canyon, clocked in close to 60-mile-per-hour gusts early yesterday morning. The winds will subside a little bit later on this afternoon and even more so into Thursday and Friday as offshore flow kind of taps the brakes and we have the return of onshore flow moving in. Overnight lows are going to be rather cool, mild in some cases, low 60s along the coast and inland valleys. Will drop into the mid 50s for the mountain areas, and we're looking at mid 60s rather, for our deserts. So the heat peaks today and the temperatures will come crashing down tomorrow afternoon. We're talking about daytime highs anywhere between 5 to nearly 10 degrees cooler for your Thursday. As we take a look at the coastal and inland areas, we're looking at low 70s up until Sunday, and everyone starts to feel relief as early as Friday. For the mountains and desert areas, we're talking low 80s all the way through the end of the week, and then we'll be in the high 70s, low 80s this weekend. So subtle daily changes for the mountain areas. Again, we won't really feel noticeable cooling by much until we get to early next week. And then take a look at that. By the time we get to the middle of the week, we're talking about low 70s making a return, mid 90s meanwhile up until Friday for the desert areas, low 90s make a rebound, eventually 80s by the time we get to the middle of next week.
Now let's take you up to Northern California, where Sacramento's Monica Woods is tracking a pretty warm Halloween.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods looking at our regional headlines, which includes sunny skies for the coast, peak warmth developing for the valley midweek. Fall color still persists in the foothills and in the Sierra. Mild temperatures courtesy of some offshore winds that are going to be periodically dotting us in the forecast. Here's a look at the departure from normal, and we are going to be sitting about 5 and in some places about 10 degrees above average right through that Friday forecast for Halloween and even into the weekends. We don't really have too much of a disruptive pattern going on throughout much of the West Coast here. Our Sacramento Valley and foothills are indexed for the burn index. How likely is it that with the dry conditions and some of these offshore winds that we would see a big fire develop? Well, we want to look at this blue line here, which is the past, where we can see those fuels are continuing to dry out. So the energy release component is what we're looking at. And it really dropped off after some recent rain. So here's where we're sitting right now, below our average and in that lower threshold. So despite the fact that we do have those stronger winds, periodically very dry winds and an overall dry pattern, the likelihood of seeing a big fire develop really isn't in the cards right now. Our fire season is playing pretty close to where we were last year at this point and behind that 5-year average for total acres burned. But of course, early on in the year, we had those catastrophic fires in Southern California. So that bumped up the amount of fires that we've seen early on in the game, as well as bringing up that acreage. So again, we're weather. We're looking at the potential for, at least at this point in the year, got to be really careful looking at those north winds, those offshore winds. Anytime we see that with this dry weather pattern, certainly going to get our attention. But given that the fuel has a little bit been a little bit wetter from some recent rain, it puts that threshold down ever so slightly. Picking up some clouds on our Thursday, then we're right back to the dry weather. All right, let's talk temperatures. Highs near 70 for the Tahoe Basin, with 70s and 80s down low. As we move towards the Central Coast, we've got highs in the 60s and 70s with near 80-degree temperatures for the valley locations. Along the Central Coast, we've got highs in the 60s and 70s, even 83 for Big Sur. That's partly due to those offshore winds. So again, we are going to be looking at the potential of some slightly higher fire danger, but it's not in that critical threshold. 70s along the Bay Area with 80s inland. And once again, we see the warmer conditions in the north end of the valley. We're in the 80s, 60s along the northwest coast. And moving into the capital region, our temperatures are going to be sitting right about 80, 82 degrees, some upper 70s in there as well. Still chilly for those morning lows. That certainly gives us a fall feel, but those afternoon highs continue to stay above average. A mix of sun and clouds in the mountains, no precipitation coming in for this weekend, and it is time to fall back. Nice that we get an extra hour of this gorgeous weather as well. For the foothills, again, mostly sunny skies. Our highs are going to be in the 70s. We get that peak warmth developing midweek, and then a little bit cooler by the time we get to the weekend. For the coast, we've got highs in the 60s and 70s with mostly sunny skies with those dry winds. Our extended forecast, got a lot going on here for the extended forecast. Highs are going to stay in the 70s to near 80. For Halloween, our high 76 degrees with mostly sunny skies for the capital region, and then we get to fall back on Sunday. We get mostly sunny skies. Our highs are in the 70s. We've got a voting day upon us on Tuesday with a mix of sun and clouds. Rain possible next Wednesday.
The Pacific Northwest is known for its abundant salmon, which can be both beautiful and delicious. After the break, we'll show you how a program in Oregon is looking to share the bounty with those in need. Not having enough food to eat is a problem in many Oregon communities. Portland's Grant McComie shows us what a very unique solution that combines local volunteers, the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the bounty of fall salmon.
For many, here's the best way to start a fall day. A gorgeous coho salmon.
That is a nice one.
Lucky anglers certainly enjoyed this time of year. We can enjoy the view, too, at places where salmon leap for their lives. Thousands of migrating salmon return to home waters after years at sea. They come back to spawn in the gravel or at hatcheries like the North Fork Nehalem, where the fish started life here 4 years ago. Today, volunteers are working the trap in a unique project that shares the bounty.
We're sorting the fish for the food bank and then for stream enrichment.
Food bank female.
So these are the hatchery fish that have come back up the river.
North Fork Nehalem is a state-operated site that produces thousands of salmon each year. While a part of the fall migration provides the future generation, the extras are used for something else, something good.
Food bank female.
We don't regularly get enough fish here to sell carcasses. Some hatcheries will do that and sell carcasses, but we don't get enough here to do that, so they'll go to local food banks.
Volunteers called the Smiley Brothers and Sisters started the Food Bank Salmon Program in 2009. They look forward to this event each fall.
It's doing something for others, and that is the most wonderful thing you can possibly do.
Well, it does put a smile on your face. It's such a great group of people, volunteers and donors, with the high school kids designing the labels. It's a really cool community process.
He's right. Local high school kids also lend a hand.
We don't need to see the whole fish. Bingo.
Neoconi High School students design the labels that'll go on thousands of canned salmon.
I like the way those fish are moving there.
Teacher Steve Albrechtson says in Tillamook County, up to 60% of school enrollment is on free or reduced lunches. So, designing a food product that helps their neighbors is an important and creative tie for young people.
With the season that we're in now, the Thanksgiving and the Christmas season, and that aspect of giving, it really kind of sinks in the giving nature because they are giving back into their community, and
In a big way.
In a big way.
The students spent 3 weeks on the label design project. During that time, the surplus salmon makes the rounds. First to a Garibaldi processor called Fish People, where thousands of salmon are cleaned and filleted at cost.
We use everything here. I'll sell the carcasses to people that are crabbing. The scraps and skin and all that will go to a farmer, and he mixes it into his compost pile. And all the money we get from the eggs will go back to the program. So we try not to waste anything here.
Then it's on to Belle Bowie Seafood in Seaside for cutting, trimming, and weighing each half-pound can. Again, at cost.
This is an old canning machine. It's from about the 1930s. The technology is largely unchanged. It's really neat to be able to take a local product on a large scale and then return it back into the community. There's just really no other projects like that.
Back at Neoconi High School, that much is certain.
So we're just going to take a little glue on that glue here part. You're going to wrap it around there. Your goal here is to try to make it as tight as possible here, and then you're off with can number 1, and you have 500 to go.
Hundreds of canned fish, not for sale, but given away at each of the 15 county food banks. The salmon provide critical protein for people who don't have enough to eat, and it's a uniquely Oregon expression of neighbors helping neighbors.
It's amazing to be able to take our fish from our river to feed our local communities. It's just totally full circle as far as what it's all about.
In Tillamook County with photographer Jeff Kastner, Grant McComey, KGW.
After a quick break, we're staying in the Northwest for forecasts from Seattle's Rich Marriott and Spokane's Thomas Patrick. Thank you so much for sticking with us here on Weather Out West on this Wednesday. We're going to continue your forecast in Washington State. First, Spokane, where Thomas Patrick is tracking the next atmospheric river headed to the northwest.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington, where conditions today have been quite busy between the morning rainfall and now the afternoon sunshine and a little bit of wind as well. That brings us to our headlines. Quite the opposites on this Wednesday. That morning rain already gone with this very fast moving cold front. The afternoon hours will feature a lot more sunshine, but you'll see that the winds are still whipping out there, including this at Silver Mountain in North Idaho. You can see Old Glory definitely outstretched with the near 20 to 25 mile per hour winds. And yes, a fresh coating of snow from the same storm that passed through. Of course, the top of that mountain at about 6,000 feet of elevation. I also scoped out our mountain passes. Looks like Sherman Pass got a dusting of snow and a bit of some foggy conditions through the morning. Lookout Pass, I-90 featuring a little bit better road conditions. It looks wet, as if it's been treated beforehand to make sure that any high elevation snow did not stick to the pass levels themselves. So here's that cold front really whipped through the inland northwest. It went from central Washington to now central Montana in the course of about 6 to 8 hours. Very fast moving, almost 45, almost 50 miles per hour. Thankfully, the wind's not as strong underneath it because of the weakening nature of this system overall. So a lot of that wind stays above our heads. You'll notice the clouds absolutely flying by today, just thankfully not experiencing any severe wind speeds from the same system. The sunshine we get is actually going to offset that cold front nicely. You see more 50s through the inland northwest, especially on the Washington side of the state line. The earlier the sun comes out, the warmer it's going to be today. Might linger with a little extra cloud cover, especially for North Idaho locations. Still close to average. The average is 50 for this time of year, as I forecast 52 for today. So it's all sunshine in the afternoon. Even our modeling clears out the cloud cover so nicely. Looks like the last of the rain already exited even central Idaho by 9 a.m. We got a 1/4 inch of rain this morning. Now that is all done. So eyes tuned to the next storm system, which will hit close towards Halloween. So this is Friday. Next storm system, which is really just moisture that's going to snake along the jet stream, will be pointed at British Columbia and western Washington at first. Looks like for Spokane, it does not arrive until Saturday, which bodes very well for the trick-or-treaters. So our Halloween forecast, as we look at those sunset hours and time frame, the early day trick-or-treaters before sunset, really great day, 48 degrees, no rain yet. I leave just a chance of rain in the forecast for Friday night, though it is unlikely and a very small chance at most. Really, most of that rain is going to end up on Saturday for eastern Washington. So today the rain is already done, already updated our 7-day forecast to include decreasing cloud cover, more sunshine in the afternoon, with temperatures staying in the low 50s. Halloween itself right at 50 degrees, with rain likely waiting until Saturday.
Fingers crossed for the trick-or-treaters. Well, the atmospheric river is going to impact the western side of the state first. Seattle's Rich Marriott tells us if the trick-or-treaters are going to need the rain gear again this year.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and we got a pretty good rainfall that moved through overnight last night. Mother Nature was kind to us. The rain moved in late afternoon, caught the latter half of the afternoon commute, and then got the steady rain out of her system overnight. And things have just dropped off to a few off and on showers this morning, and most of those have been out towards the Strait of Juan de Fuca. You can see that's still kind of continuing, but we should gradually see high pressure begin to build in today, see those showers gradually diminish as we head into the afternoon and see more and more sunshine. In fact, we're already starting to see some clearing around western Washington. See the skies starting to show up a little bit bluer up there around the Bellingham area starting off the day. And as we move down through the sound, seeing the sun trying to win out over the clouds, which it eventually will get to. Kind of a golden looking shot there from the Queen Anne Tower cam, and down there in Tacoma, a little bit of light fog looks like it's formed probably from the clearing. So that'll be burning off as we get that sun just a little bit higher up in the sky. Checking that 7-day forecast, you can see we do dry out this afternoon. Well, actually, Thursday's looking like a pretty good day for cleanup. The leaves and such that came down last weekend, a good opportunity to clean those out, clean out the gutters and maybe the street gutters as well, as they're pretty full of leaves at this point before we get the next round of rain moving in for later on Friday, though not as strong a system as what we saw last Saturday. We're still going to get some significant rainfall out of that. And actually the good news is the fact that for Halloween, it does look like the computer models are starting to delay the onset of rainfall in Puget Sound to maybe after trick-or-treating on Friday. We'll take a closer look at that in just a second. See, as we head into the weekend, that turns to showers, a little breezy north of Seattle on Saturday afternoon, and then we dry out a little bit as we end the weekend and start off next week. If you're heading across the mountain passes, no driving problems, no restrictions for any of the passes, and they're basically bare and dry or bare and wet at this point, and see no problems there. Still a little bit of snow off the highway, but that might be not the case as we head towards the end of the weekend. We are looking for that rain to move in, but with rising snow levels, most of the skiers did get some snow last weekend, but this weekend as that rain moves in on Friday, those snow levels are going to be way up near 10,000 feet as that rain falls, and on into Saturday they stay above 7,000, so basically above the tops of almost all the ski areas. And Sunday, when it does drop to 4,000 feet, we pretty well dry out, so we might end up washing away essentially all that snow that we got last weekend. But it's still easy, early season, doesn't really mean anything at this point. Sometimes the snowpack comes and goes several times before it finally settles in for the winter. Satellite image shows the system that moved through last night off to the east of us. Another system off the coast, but high pressure is building in front of that. This is basically going to ride up over that. We'll see some high clouds out of that, but no precipitation. And then farther back here, just coming over the edge of the planet there, if we zoom over and take a look from the Japanese satellites, you can see this little area is going to develop, and that's what's going to be moving in for later on Friday. But as I said, it looks like that might be slowing down a little bit, which the good news with that is the fact that we shouldn't we may not see that move in until after trick-or-treating. If we take a look at the computer model, so this is for this morning. You can see we still have the showers around, but as we head into the afternoon, not much left over. We start to clear out, and then high pressure moves through tomorrow for some clearing and a pretty nice day, as we've been talking about. See that next system working its way in off the Pacific, and by, well, around 6 o'clock, we think the peak trick-or-treating hours will be about 4 to 8 o'clock on Friday night. This is just poised just to start moving down through the sound. The trend in most of the models now is to slow the system down a little bit each run. So if it slows it just a little bit more, it may hold off until after trick-or-treating, which would really be nice for everybody who has kids that are taking out to go trick-or-treating. It's more pleasant for the kids and for the parents, for that matter. Checking the outlook for Halloween, then we're going to be looking for increasing rain spreading down from the north. Again, that timing, hard to know exactly if it's going to hold off, but you're going to have a better chance of a dry trick-or-treating experience the farther south you are in Puget Sound. Temperatures will be fine. They're going to be mostly in the mid to upper 50s, and we should see just light winds. So if we can hold the rain off, it should be a decent afternoon, evening for trick-or-treating. Overall, though, checking out that extended forecast, so a few showers around this morning, clearing out to partly sunny this afternoon, mid to maybe even some upper 50s to near 60 degrees. Afternoon. Thursday, partly sunny after some morning fog and mid-50s. As we head into Friday, we'll see increasing clouds, that chance of rain moving in the afternoon and early evening. Kind of wet as we head into Friday night into Saturday. Rain should turn to off and on showers as the cold front moves through on Saturday morning. It is going to get a little breezy up to the north of Seattle, but it's in the areas that are normally kind of windy, and might see some gusty winds up there, but got pretty much much weaker than what we saw last Saturday. Showers will decrease on Sunday, partly sunny Monday, and maybe a chance of a few showers around on Tuesday. High temperatures starting off next week staying in the mid-50s.
Coming up next, we're going to round out our weather tour by staying in the Pacific Northwest with forecasts from Portland and Boise. Plus, it's a special day for our feline friends. We'll explain why, and while showing you some of the cute pictures of cats. You don't want to miss it. As you heard us mention numerous times, all eyes are on that Halloween forecast. And for the trick-or-treaters, the timing of the incoming atmospheric river is going to determine whether or not rain jackets are needed over the costumes. Portland's Rod Hill has the forecast from Oregon.
It's a foggy morning in Portland, but not everywhere here in Western Oregon. Our capital city, Salem's starting off with beautiful sunshine. It will turn out to be not only a dry day moving forward, but a sunny day across our entire region. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. We're kind of in a dry gap that will take us through tomorrow, and we'll still be dry going into Friday morning as well. So we're drying out a little bit. We've had some lingering showers this morning, but all that stuff is on the way out. I mentioned fog. You get up above it. The fog that we're tracking in Portland has been kind of shallow. It doesn't extend upwards vertically very much. So when you get up to Timberline, oh my goodness, it's been gorgeous. And by the way, as we look at the snow and the bluebird conditions up there today, a reminder that later on, KGW will have on all of our digital platforms and our KGW Plus streaming platform, my winter outlook. Now this is local to our region and very specifically around the Portland metro. But it gets into the fact that I like a snow event this year. I think the best chance of Portland to get like a 6 to 8 inch snow event will come in February. And there's a lot of great information. It also talks about the ski conditions expected and when the snowpacks will really get going up on the mountain. So that's coming later today on our KGW platforms here in the Rose City. It's Rod Hill's Winter Outlook. All right, camera time. Beautiful. Again, away from the fog. It's a gorgeous morning. Chinook Winds Casino Resort in Lincoln City. This is super cool. Oh my gosh, look at this. Rolling in, fog bank rolling in. But above it, it's beautifully sunny. That's Chehalem Tasting Room down in Sherwood. Our wine country cameras this morning, when you get up in elevation just a little bit, the bumps of the vineyard, if you will, you generally see the sun. Here is just the gorgeous fall scene of the mall in front of our state capitol. Not only clear skies, but just look at the foliage, so pretty. We've had just enough rain this year that our fall colors here in Oregon, here on the west side of our state, have really been fantastic. Now here's the fog over downtown Portland, which should be getting out of here during the morning hours. And then later today, Futurecast shows we're sunny. Shows that we have some passing mid to high level cloudiness tomorrow, but tomorrow's still dry, partly sunny to mostly sunny at times. And then we get into Halloween morning, all dry, another wave of cloudiness coming in. And then here is in the evening. Now this is Friday at 10 p.m. Trick-or-treat hours begin roughly at 6. Could be raining pretty good in Tillamook and Astoria and over into Longview during the trick-or-treat hours. Now I think Portland will have at least a chance of some light showers popping during the trick-or-treat time. But the main heavier rain is going to come in overnight into Saturday morning and not hit Portland or Salem. So fingers crossed our trick-or-treat hours are either completely dry this year or there's just a touch of some light rain in the area. Back to this afternoon's map with sunshine coming to all areas of our state and temperatures generally in the 50s for highs, except for the chance of just getting up to 60 in the Willamette Valley and maybe out in the Dalles and the East Gorge as well. But all dry this afternoon, dry tomorrow. We talked about Halloween with that chance of light showers coming in late afternoon into the evening. Now this is at least a half of an inch of rain and maybe more than 3/4 Friday overnight into Saturday. Saturday morning it looks steady rain that breaks into showers during the afternoon, and then Sunday may or may not be dry with a scattered shower chance.
Cool and crisp sunny days are on tap in southwestern Idaho. Boise's Hector Mendoza tells us if the weather will cooperate for trick-or-treating on Friday and the Boise State football game on Saturday.
Well, it was a beautiful day yesterday, and here's some of the photos that we saw posted on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page of the beautiful October weather out at Lucky Peak. You can see some of the snow there on the ground. You can see very, very, very faintly through some of these trees here. You could see a lot of those blue skies there as we saw very clear conditions there through yesterday, and you could see it very clearly right here at Julia Davis Park here in Boise. You could see a lot of those fall colors, and again, beautiful, beautiful sunset there as we're slowly starting to see that sun start to set there, and then a lot more of those very, very comfortable conditions that we saw yesterday. And then we saw even out at Idaho Falls in some of those areas, again, we're seeing a little bit more of the color there on some of these trees, and we continue with a beautiful fall temperatures here to wrap up the month of October as we're getting closer to Friday. And temperatures not too bad as they were into the upper 50s yesterday. For the most part, getting closer to the 60-degree temperatures there for Ontario, Caldwell, and Nampa. Low 50s for the Magic Valley and sticking around those low to mid 40s across many of those mountain spots. And as we talked about very early on, we're going to see those cool conditions. We are also going to expect to see a lot more of those drier conditions as well as we continue with this ridge of high pressure. We do have some showers that have made its way all the way up through the north. Not much of that moisture really reaches down to the southwest Idaho. The only thing that we start to see is a little bit more of those clouds start to increase, and we'll see that here through the rest of this afternoon. We'll start to see some clearing as we get closer into the evening, but again, this is what's going to dominate and bring us some of those drier conditions, and we are expecting for that to continue here in through the long term with a chance of some showers coming along for some areas there as we see a couple of shortwave systems that come through. So again, that looks likely to keep our temperatures down a little bit lower. We are expecting lighter winds, so even through the mornings for tomorrow, we might expect a little bit more of some of those cooler conditions we saw yesterday as we saw a rise in temperature early on this morning. And then as we get closer in through Friday evening, we'll see those clouds increase just a little bit more, and then we're going to see this ridge of high pressure start to make its way through, and that's what's going to build and bring us even warmer temperatures as we look on ahead through Saturday and Sunday, as we're expecting to stay well above average here as we get on in through the weekend. But as we look at the precipitation chances, we are expecting not until possibly in through Sunday morning that we could see a chance of some of those showers coming along. We're also keeping an eye on the chance that we could see something coming along for the middle of next week. But again, for now, we're expecting dry conditions all the way through, and that includes Halloween, as many folks are going to be out trick-or-treating. We are going to see some clouds, so looking pretty gloomy, so pretty fitting for this Halloween holiday. Temperatures into the upper 50s. We are expecting lighter winds, so things are staying pretty comfortable. And then as we flip the page to Saturday, Boise State faces off against Fresno State there for a Saturday afternoon kickoff at 1:30 for the Milk Can Trophy. 59 degrees what we're expecting for kickoff, and then by the end of the game, we are going to see those temperatures climbing up into the low 60s, and that's what we're expecting for our Saturday afternoon and evening. So again, as we look at the 7-day forecast here in Boise, we are going to see that temperatures don't really change too much as we look on through today, all the way in through Friday. We're not going to really see some of those changes until we get in through Saturday and Sunday, which is when we're expecting to roll back those clocks, and we're expecting to see that some of these temperatures cool off just a bit into early next week before climbing back up into the low 60s by Tuesday.
And as promised, we'll have some of your very cute cat pics after the break as we celebrate National Cat Day on this Whisker Wednesday. Welcome back to Weather Out West. Tens of millions of Americans have a special day to cuddle with their favorite feline. Today marks National Cat Day, which is a perfect time to recognize these sweet little creatures. Of course, every day is Cat Day, right? Cats are known for their independent and frisky streak, but they often snuggle in your lap. About 49 million U.S. households own a cat, and ownership is actually trending up. The American Pet Products Association says the 49 million is 9 million more than only 2 years ago, but there are millions more cats that live in shelters. Organizers of National Cat Day hope people who currently are not pet owners will be inspired to consider adopting a cat to help ease the burden of shelters. And something else you could do is be a foster. And we wanted to celebrate some of your fur babies. Since it's National Cat Day, this is the one on your left is Kibby, who is a total diva, if you can't tell, but the sweetest little diva ever. Thank you so much to Beverly for sharing your sweet little girl with us. And then the one on your right, that is Chula, who is a rare smoked Persian and likes to go for walks in her harness. And she does live in the Pacific Northwest, so the weather will cooperate for that. Then we have Cole, sent in by Casey K. Sweet little guy, likes to explore in the backyard. And then Sterling, he lives in Auburn, Washington, and he loves to pose for photos, if you cannot tell on his little pillow there. We have Dash. Loves walking outside on the beach, always with his harness on, his mom told me. And then we have Simba and Sammy. They were foster kittens, and guess what? A foster fail. And so Lori decided to keep those two, and now they are her forever best friends. If you want to share your pet pic with me, go ahead, aruaz@king5.com. That's going to do it for us here on Weather Out West on this National Cat Day. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.